This is a trigger warning as the following podcast contains sensitive information in regards to abortions. If you are someone who has experienced having an abortion, you have strong feelings in regards to abortions, and you decide to listen, please be cautious. Thank you. You're tuning into the Fearless Fridays with Maryann podcast. As a best-selling author, certified life coach, and speaker, I created this podcast to inspire, empower, and transform you from the inside out. From time to time, you may hear a solo episode, but for the most part, we will be joined by real-life guests who have overcome adversity. But as they have done the work, today they are thriving. So grab your pen and paper as we get started and learn firsthand tips and tricks to change the trajectory of your lives so we can live a free, fearless, and fabulous life. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Fearless Fridays with Maryann. I am your host, Maryann Rivera-Danert, and I am the owner and founder of MRD Empowerment Solutions, which is an organization focused on unlocking your full potential to enhance leadership and find balance in life. And I just want to share a little bit as to the background into what got me started into, being a podcaster, a little bit of my journey. And I wanted to share something with my audience that I have not shared publicly with anyone before. Not necessarily not anyone, because I have shared it with a small group of individuals. But because this podcast is all about being fearless, and because my vision is to see women worldwide live a fearless, free, and fabulous life, I feel that this is a part of me that I need to share. And I hope that in me sharing my story, it will empower and uplift another woman who may be contemplating the topic that I will be discussing, or who can find healing and peace within herself because of the choices that she has made. So first and foremost, when I started my podcast, it was basically, again, because my vision is to see women worldwide live a free, fearless, and fabulous life. And as a coach, I could only reach a certain amount of people within my network, within my circle. And because of my vision, I got out of my comfort zone and started thinking as to how can I reach more women, especially, again, worldwide. So in a conversation with my business coach, I launched Fearless Fridays with Maryann podcast, which started at the end of 2020. And it was so chaotic when I first started my podcast. I was doing it live. I was doing it right on the spot. And I ended up having several cancellations back to back, people not following through. And I actually ended up closing the doors for a brief moment. And then I was invited to be on someone else's podcast. And they told me that the podcast was going to be airing, I think it was like 60 or 90 days after the recording. So after we finished our recording, I was speaking with her, and she told me that she just pretty much pre-records, and she just keeps, podcasts going and going and going. And she has a list and keeps it, going from there. So I started doing the same thing. I started pre-recording. So I took a pause, and I I recorded several episodes. So I think it was probably 4 or 5 episodes that I had. And then when I decided to relaunch, I was good to go. And I've been doing that ever since. And as of right now, when I am recording this solo episode, I just checked the stats, and we are listened to worldwide. So it's super exciting when you see your vision come to fruition, and it, becomes a reality. So we are, of course, listened to in the United States. We have Australia, Belgium, Germany, Philippines, United Kingdom, the Netherlands, Canada, Hungary, Serbia, and I think there was one more. I think the Philippines. Oh, I said the Philippines. So it's super exciting when you see, something that you are passionate about coming to fruition. And we have close to 8,000 episodes. I mean, not episodes, close to 8,000 downloads. So my plan is and my goal is to get to 10,000 episodes by the end of 2023. So if you are listening to this podcast, whether it's on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcast, where else? Pandora, Audible, Stitcher, wherever you're listening to this podcast. If you find this valuable, I ask that you share it with at least 5 individuals. It doesn't have to be just women. It can be also men, because I do have some episodes that are with men, and men have amazing stories and a lot of insights to also share. So I wanted to talk about today. Okay. I wanted to talk to you today about a decision that I made years ago. Actually, it was when I was dating my first husband. So this was in it was the mid 90s. It was the mid 90s. So we were dating. Obviously, you don't know the future. You don't know what's happening. You're just in the midst of everything that's, the butterflies, the excitement of something new. And I ended up getting pregnant. And after conversations with my ex-husband, we decided to have an abortion. And up until that point, I was one of those individuals, one of those women that was very judgy when it came to individuals that had abortions. It wasn't that I was against abortions. It was just something that I felt, obviously you make choices, things happen, there's consequences. But it wasn't until I was faced with that decision that I understood. I understood women being vulnerable, feeling sad, feeling alone, feeling broken, being confused, feeling less than. And not just questioning their choices, but just questioning everything. From like, why did this happen? Just so many emotions and feeling confused. And if I was to say that I was not affected by that decision, I would be lying. And again, as I said, this was in the mid 90s. And there's still times that sometimes I pause and it's like, that child would have been X amount of years. Would they have looked like me? Would they have looked like him? Would they have looked like a combination of both of us? What would they be doing? Because they would be an adult right now. What would their life be like? So, well, at that moment, it may have seemed like it was an easy decision to make. It was not. And I want to give some hope to the woman who may be listening right now, who has either recently had an abortion or who has had an abortion, period, or maybe contemplating having an abortion. The fact that we live in the land of the free in America is quite interesting, especially when there are so many states that have blocked the freedom of a woman making a choice to do with her body as she sees fit. And I think it's important that we respect people's choices, regardless of what our thoughts are, because again, we don't know someone's situation. We're not in their shoes. So it's easy to pass judgment when we have not experienced something. And in the same token, there may be individuals that have, experienced traumatic events in their lives that have led to them becoming pregnant, and they decided to still have the child. But here's the thing though, that's their choice. So just like it was their choice to do with their body what they saw fit, it's also the individual's choice to do with their body. If they decide to have an abortion, that's their choice. And I know that there's a lot of, like religious beliefs and things like that. But again, at the end of the day, the only person that we need to be accountable to as a Christian is Jesus. It's not man. It's not your coworkers, it's not your friends, it's not your family. It's not a stranger that's passing judgment. It's your Lord and Savior, if you are a person of faith. So I think that respecting the importance of choice is extremely important. It's a woman's right to choose what's best for her. And I also want to ensure that you get support, whether you are contemplating, doing this, or you have already done it. Get support. Speaking to someone that has either been in your shoes or is a neutral party is extremely important, because you can feel as though it's not affecting you, but there are going to be moments that something is going to trigger you and it's going to cause you to break down. So having that emotional support is extremely important. And it's also important to have access to the right information. An abortion may not be the best decision for you. You may decide to have the child and give the child up for adoption. Again, that is your choice. But you do have choices. So it's best to, take a pause and truly think about your options before you make a permanent decision. And again, a decision that is going to affect you for the rest of your life. And there's a lot of stigma around abortions, and it's a very touchy subject. It's, again, something that people don't talk about, but it's something that happens more often than not. There can be consequences. The stigma of abortions, it could be cultural, it could be because of your background, it could be religious. There are reasons for this, and it's important that, again, that we just don't judge. Let people choose and decide what's best for them. And, just show some respect and some empathy, because again, you don't know what someone is going through and the decisions that have led to them making this choice. So I want to offer 5 tips for you. Again, whether this is something that you have already experienced or something that you're contemplating, or even just as general knowledge, so you can help someone out who may be reaching out to you for help and for some guidance. Number 1 is to seek support. Again, reach out to whether it's family, friends, a mental health therapist who can provide a listening ear and emotional support to you during this time. Tip number 2, allow yourself to grieve. It's okay to feel a range of emotions, from being sad to relief. Give yourself permission to process these feelings without any judgment. Tip number 3, self-care is extremely important during this time. So focus on some self-care, both physically and emotionally. This may involve practicing some relaxation techniques, getting enough rest, and maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Tip number 4, connect with support groups. There are many organizations that offer support groups and resources for individuals that have experienced abortions. Connecting with others who have similar experiences is extremely helpful and very comforting because, again, you are dealing with individuals that have been in your shoes. And then tip number 5, take time to reflect and make peace. Take the time to reflect on the decisions that you have made and the reasons behind it, and time to find, some closure and some peace due to the choice that you have made. Because, again, as someone who has experienced this and been through this, I can personally say that I know it was not an easy decision. And the reasons that led me to make these decisions are numerous. But that's, topic for another time. And I just want to, as we're getting ready to close and, wrap up, just remember that healing emotionally after an abortion is extremely a personal journey. So don't compare your decision to someone else's decision. Someone that can go through, from extreme depression to acting as though it's not a big deal. Again, it's a personal journey, and we should never judge because we don't know the true ins and outs of someone making such a decision. It's important for you to do what feels right for you. And if you are someone that is struggling, again, just consider seeking professional help, to navigate your emotions and to find healing that works best for you. Again, it's not an easy choice. And I guess for me, this is, again, something that I have never discussed, making it so public. Only a certain amount of people know. But this is something, again, because my hope is to create freedom and to bring freedom to other individuals and to let them live a free and fearless life. And for me, again, this is my choice and my decision to talk about it because I felt that this is a part of my journey that has been holding me back. And again, because, as a fearless living expert, as a fearless living coach, I just felt that it was important for me to just share this part of my journey because, again, this is something that, out of fear of being judged, out of fear of, being criticized, people talking, I didn't want to share because, again, abortion is such a stigmatized event in people's lives that people don't share because, again, out of fear of being judged and being criticized, that I did not talk about it. But I've come to realize that for me, again, these are my personal choices, my personal mission. I feel that I didn't go through things in life to keep it bottled up and to keep it a secret and to be hiding from them. I feel that I am an individual that has experienced things in life so I can help to empower and inspire and help other individuals, particularly women, but also men, because even though the man is not the one that is going through the actual act of the abortion, for that man, it still is a loss. And there's still, grieving that happens or that should happen. And also seeking guidance and seeking therapy is important for them also. But for me, again, because my mission is to provide women with strategies, to silence their insecurities. And for me, this was an insecurity that was keeping me silent. And because I want to be the best possible role model and true and transparent individual for other women, I just felt like it was something that it was time that I talked about it. So again, if you would like to continue the discussion, feel free to send me an email to Maryann at MaryannRiveraDainert.com. You can find me on Facebook under MRD Empowerment Solutions. Feel free to send me a DM. Feel free to send me an email, and we can continue the conversation. Again, I hope that just sharing a little bit more about myself could just remind you that it does not matter the choices that you have made in life, good, bad, ugly, indifferent. What matters most are the lessons that you've learned through the process and how to move forward. I thank you for tuning in. I thank you for sharing. I thank you for being in my life. And I thank you for providing a safe space for me to be vulnerable. And again, to keep inspiring, empowering, and motivating women to live a fearless, free, and fabulous life. Until next time. Thank you so much for listening to the Fearless Fridays with Maryann podcast. Make sure to stay connected with us, and you can find us on Facebook at MRD Empowerment Solutions or on Instagram as Maryann Rivera Danert. You can also visit our website at MaryannRiveraDanert.com. As always, you are fearless, you are fabulous, you are a priority, and you matter.